What's up, basketball family? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a story that's turning heads across college hoops. Staley just dropped a powerful statement after South Carolina battled through adversity, and one name is at the center of it all: Maddy McDaniel. With two starters out, the pressure was sky high, the spotlight was bright, and someone had to step up and take control. According to Staley, McDaniel didn't just fill the gap, she ran the show. We're breaking down exactly what happened, why this moment matters for South Carolina's season, and what it says about McDaniel's future in one of the toughest programs in the country. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. But before we dive in, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more women's basketball coverage you won't find anywhere else, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Maddy McDaniel just earned a bigger role moving forward? Let's get into it. When Staley leaned back in her chair after the game, the weight of the moment was written all over her face, the kind of expression that only comes when a coach knows her team has just passed a quiet but meaningful test. South Carolina had been forced into a situation few expected. Two starters were unavailable, rotations were thinner than usual, and the responsibility of controlling the floor fell into younger hands. That's when Maddy McDaniel stepped forward, not with flash or bravado, but with composure. Later, Staley would describe it simply: McDaniel ran the show. And for anyone who watched the game unfold possession by possession, that description didn't feel exaggerated, it felt precise. From the opening tip, the absence of veteran voices was noticeable. South Carolina, a program built on depth and dominance, suddenly had to navigate uncertainty. The Gamecocks are used to dictating tempo, applying defensive pressure, and forcing opponents into mistakes. But on this night, the rhythm was unsettled early. Passes weren't as crisp, spacing looked unfamiliar, and there was a brief stretch in the first quarter where it seemed like the team was searching for a stabilizing force. That force became McDaniel. She didn't force her presence. Instead, she let the game come to her. Bringing the ball up the floor, she scanned the defense with patience that looked years beyond her experience. Rather than rushing into offensive sets, she called for spacing, motioned teammates into position, and waited for the right seam to open. That kind of control doesn't always show up in a box score, but coaches recognize it instantly. Staley certainly did. As the first quarter progressed, McDaniel began to assert herself in subtle ways. A well-timed bounce pass through traffic led to an easy basket inside. On the next possession, she recognized a mismatch and slowed the play down, allowing South Carolina to exploit it rather than rushing into a contested shot. These weren't highlight reel moments, they were winning plays, the kind that build trust from teammates and coaches alike. What stood out most was her communication. With two starters out, the Gamecocks needed someone to keep everyone connected, especially on defense. McDaniel's voice carried across the court, calling switches, directing help coverage, and ensuring that no possession slipped into confusion. Leadership in basketball often reveals itself in adversity, and this was one of those moments where opportunity met readiness. There was a stretch midway through the second quarter when the opponent made a run, cutting the lead and threatening to seize momentum. The crowd grew louder, sensing vulnerability. It would have been easy for a young guard to panic or try to respond with individual heroics. McDaniel chose the opposite approach. She slowed the pace, initiated a high pick-and-roll, and delivered a perfectly timed pass that led to a three-point play. On the next defensive sequence, she anticipated a passing lane, came up with a steal, and turned it into a fast break opportunity that re-energized her team. Just like that, the momentum shifted again. Staley has built her program on accountability, resilience, and preparation. Players don't earn her praise lightly. So when she later remarked that McDaniel ran the show, it wasn't just about one game. It was about trust. It was about recognizing a player who absorbed the system, embraced responsibility, and delivered under pressure. The second half tested that composure even further. Adjustments came from the opposing bench, defensive pressure intensified, and South Carolina's margin remained within reach rather than comfortable. McDaniel responded with poise. She used hesitation dribbles to create space, found open shooters when help defenders collapsed, and showed an understanding of when to be aggressive versus when to facilitate. There was a possession late in the third quarter that encapsulated her performance. After resetting the offense twice and refusing a contested shot, she finally drove into the lane, drew two defenders, and dished to a teammate for a wide-open jumper. It was basketball IQ at its finest. Teammates fed off that steadiness. Younger players looked more confident, veterans on the bench were visibly engaged, and the defensive intensity returned to the standard South Carolina is known for. That's the ripple effect of a guard who controls tempo. The entire team begins to breathe easier. For McDaniel, this moment didn't appear overnight. It was the product of hours spent in practice, learning the nuances of Staley's system, understanding teammates' tendencies, and developing the mental toughness required to thrive in high-pressure situations. Guards in Staley's program are expected to be extensions of the coach on the floor. They must read defenses, anticipate adjustments, and maintain emotional control. Against the backdrop of missing starters, McDaniel demonstrated she could shoulder that responsibility. The closing minutes of the game offered one final test. With the opponent attempting a late push, every possession mattered. McDaniel's decision-making became even more deliberate. She protected the ball, used the shot clock wisely, and ensured South Carolina ended possessions with quality looks. When the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard reflected more than a win, it reflected growth. Afterward, Staley's tone carried a mixture of pride and acknowledgement. She has always emphasized that championship teams are defined by depth and readiness. Having a player step up when circumstances demand it reinforces the culture she's cultivated for years. McDaniel's performance was a reminder that preparation meets opportunity in programs that expect excellence daily. For fans, the game offered a glimpse into the future. South Carolina has built its reputation on stars, but sustained success comes from players who can rise in unexpected moments. McDaniel showed she could be one of those players, a guard capable of managing pressure, elevating teammates, and embracing leadership when it matters most. Moments like these also strengthen team chemistry. Teammates learn they can rely on one another regardless of who is available. Coaches gain confidence in their rotations. And players develop belief in their own abilities. The value of such a performance extends beyond a single night, it shapes the mindset heading into tougher matchups down the line. As the season progresses, challenges will continue to arise. Injuries, tough road games, and high-stakes matchups are part of the journey for any elite program. But South Carolina's ability to adapt often separates it from the rest. Having players like McDaniel ready to step into expanded roles ensures the standard remains intact. What made this performance resonate wasn't just the numbers or the result. It was the maturity displayed in handling adversity. Basketball is as much mental as it is physical, and McDaniel's ability to stay composed, communicate effectively, and make smart decisions reflected a player growing into her role at exactly the right time. For Dawn Staley, seeing a young guard run the show isn't just satisfying, it's essential. It means the program's foundation remains strong, the culture continues to develop leaders, and the future stays bright. Coaches often talk about wanting players who are prepared before their moment arrives. McDaniel proved she fits that description. Long after the crowd left and the arena lights dimmed, the significance of the game lingered. It was one of those nights that might not dominate headlines but will be remembered inside the program. A night when adversity revealed character. A night when opportunity revealed leadership. A night when Maddy McDaniel didn't just fill in, she commanded the floor. And sometimes, in a season filled with expectations and pressure, those are the moments that define a team more than any statistic ever could.